Hi, welcome to Remove Logic Radio, everybody. I'm your host, Karen Ray Lacey, and I'm so glad that you jumped on to start to spend the evening with us this Thursday on Remove Logic Radio. We're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. In case this is your first time joining us, but just thank you so much, and to the Remove Logic family, we just say hey, and just glad that you're here. This month is June, and we are celebrating fathers this month. All month long, we are sharing the testimony and the stories of men that have been overcome things or had to remove logic or get out of their own way for what it is that God has for their lives. And I'm just so excited about this month because I know that men have stories that go untold, and God has just given this space for men to be able to share their stories. Remove Logic. Why remove logic? Why is this show called Remove Logic? Because God is not bound by logic or logistics. And so I have always been this person that asks why or why not. A solutionist or someone that always seeks for potential, a way out for those that are stuck to get unstuck. And so I'm just happy that you decided to join me tonight and this month specifically because we are running our Father's Day special right here on Remove Logic Radio. And today, my guest is someone that I am most excited about. It's really precious to me to be able to invite him on. And again, the fact that he did say yes is even more precious. But tonight's guest is my very own baby brother. And for those of you that know the Ray girls, my sister and I, there are a lot of people that didn't know we had a brother. And so I'm excited tonight to introduce him uh, to some and present him to others, and that I'm going to allow him to come in his own way. My brother's name is Jason Ray. And so I just want to say, welcome, brother. There he is, my baby brother, Jason Ray. Hey, brother.
Hey, what's going on, baby girl?
I affectionately call him brother dear, and he calls me baby girl. And though I'm the oldest of three, and he's the baby, but he calls me baby girl, and I love it. Rings in my ear just with a whole bunch of love every time he says it. So I want you to meet my baby brother, Jason Ray. And Jason, I just want you to come in your own way, whatever it is that God has put on your heart to share with the Remove Logic audience. And, just kind of do a brief introduction of yourself. Again, my baby brother.
Hey, well, again, thanks a lot. Shoot, I'm sitting here already crying because, it's amazing opportunity when you have amazing family, and just to sit there and see what God is doing through your life right now and how it's impacting my life is just awesome right now. So, this thing that I call life has the ability to make you emotional at any ungiven time. So,
Yeah.
right now I'm emotional. So, with me being the baby brother, I will cry on the drop of a hat. So, but to just kind of introduce myself, baby girl just said, I am the baby brother of my sisters. Love them to death, man. They always looked after me, and I've always looked after them in some form or fashion. What I'm doing currently right now, I am the owner of Salina Transportation
Amen. Uh-oh. You went
Company.
away.
And what we
Okay.
do is we provide transportation for shipping through all out the United States.
Amen.
Uh, yeah, God has led me into a lot of different directions, but at this juncture, that's where I am right now.
You are a business owner.
I am a business owner.
Yay. And, just piggybacking on the crying at the drop of a hat, I was talking to our cousin Deetra this morning, and she
Right.
was excited about the show. But I said, she said she was going to try not to cry. I said, girl, I said, you just said something. I said, because Jason will cry at the drop of a hat. I said, and I'm going to have to remember to take my Kleenex because I know he's going to have me crying in this interview. And lo and behold, I left my box of Kleenex downstairs. So, brother, look.
I
So,
ain't gonna promise nothing.
I know it, and that's the wonderful thing about just a conversation with somebody that you love. It goes the way that God wants it to go, and the heart and the transparency, we're just going to let it flow for whichever way it is. You don't have to hold back anything. If I have to dab these eyes a little bit, that's fine, but I'm just glad that you're here. I can't say it enough. I'm super excited about sharing you with the Remove Logic family. But I want to say to you, I'm excited about presenting you to those that did not know we have a brother, and so I'm proud of you in so many ways. But look, it's all about you. So if of course it's Father's Day month, so I want to touch on that just a bit. And the first question I would like to ask you, if you could just share a little bit about your journey as a father.
Oh wow.
I know.
You know, it's just to be real, it's had some ups and downs. I've made some decisions, in my past as a father. My firstborn was in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And, at that point, I was still trying to find my identity. And when I was trying to find my identity, you have to remember what 89 was actually about. Being in the 80s, I mean, we dealt with, gang violence, drug addiction, just trying to, fit
Mm-hmm.
in somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And in the midst of that, what I ended up doing was kind of putting my baby boy on the back shelf.
Hmm.
And uh, I did my best to try to raise him, but I had a higher calling in the streets,
Hmm.
and it wasn't, it didn't identify with fatherhood for me, and I guess it was probably based upon fear, uncertainty, all of that different kind of stuff. So, um, fatherhood has had some ebbs and flows. And when I say that, I guess that looking at now over the past, 25, 30 years, I have seen God restore my relationships with my children.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. So it's been some ebbs and flows.
Okay. Now let's introduce how many children you do have. Let's go there. How many children that you are the father of?
Okay. I have three boys who are my natural kids, and I have three boys who are from other mothers who are not my natural kids.
Okay. So
So
all
I say I got six boys.
six sons. Yes.
Six, yeah, six
Yes.
sons.
And what's the age range of your son?
My oldest is he's gonna get mad at me, but he's 35, no, 36 years old now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and they go all the way down to my baby boy who is now 25 years old.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I want to add this in too. I've
Okay.
got I've got six grandsons.
Wow. 6 and 6.
6 and 6. All
Yes.
boys.
All boys. You're surrounded by boys. I love
Yeah.
it. I was saying you're the one that's going to keep the Ray name going.
Yeah, exactly. That's what dad
Yes.
said.
Now, what has surprised you most about fatherhood? And wherever that surprise has hit, if it's right now, but what has surprised you most about fatherhood?
I guess if I could really just put a pin in it, I would say that it's the fact that even after my kids have grown up, they still look for that nurturing. They still look for that guidance. They still look to me to be able to give them some influence in their lives, even though they're all adult children right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now your journey for whatever you want to share, I want you to do that. And I have questions, but I don't want to guide you with this. So I want to hear your heart for Remove Logic as far as a father and where you are, even just not just right now, but how you got here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, first of all, I want to say thank you, baby girl, for giving me an audience. For being able to bring me into this, because this is making an impact not only on others, I hope, but it's also making an impact on me because of the way that my story lines out. And when I say how my story lines out, uh, like I said, growing up in the '70s, I was I'm I got two big sisters, and I got two beautiful big sisters. And one thing that my dad always told me was to look out for your sisters. And y'all probably don't know. People don't know, but I was being a baby. I was a scrapper because my big sisters they held it down on me. So anytime a man came through and it didn't really match up, I'm fighting. And so I've come up through a line of always fighting, and fighting for something. And I didn't really understand where it was leading me until I started to get older and I started to finally settle down and hear the word of God and just hear his voice. And it wasn't that I was just fighting, dudes for my big sisters or just, fighting growing up in the hood. I was fighting to get to the point to where God wanted me to be. And being as a father of six boys and six grandsons,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've learned is how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And today, like I said, growing up, I've experienced a lot of things. And baby girl, my story, but the people don't. But I've experienced a lot of things from, you know, uh, just growing up as a man in the '80s in Fort Worth. It was a survival tactic that we had to have. And that survival tactic was more along the lines of you either were going to be a part of a gang, you were going to try to sell some dope, or you was going to try to be a pimp or all of that. And I tried to experience it all.
Mm,
And the thing that I did was, and that as I got older, I noticed that I was a successive failure at all of
mm.
those things
Wow. Wow.
because I was not a successful gang member, I was not a successful drug dealer, and I was not a successful pimp. But
Mm,
I tried my hand in them all. But I was trying to find my identity in order to become what I thought a man was supposed to be.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
my understanding of manhood was skewed from the top. And it's nothing that has to do with my dad, with our dad, or anything like that. It was just how I was placing value on the individuals that I saw that I
Mm,
thought were my superheroes.
got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. So when you say you failed at being a gang member, you failed at being a drug dealer, and you failed at being a pimp. Like, these are things, of course, the way that you're putting it is things that I'm learning about you as well, and I thank you for that. So these failures, how did you fail? Let me say that, because there may be somebody out there that's like, okay, I'm in this now, and they may not see the failing part of it. So how did you identify, like, this is not for me, or what was your identification as a failure in those areas?
Well, I would say like this. First of all, God didn't create me to be that.
Okay.
That's off the top. God, that's not what I was created to be. When I was born, there was no bandana in my bassinet.
Hmm.
There was no drugs in my bassinet. And there and as far as the pimping thing goes, those things were not created for me. What I
Right.
was created for was to be able to what I do, like what I enjoy is speaking into the hearts of men. That's what I
Hmm.
was created for. So when I started to see that I ain't never went to the penitentiary behind no drive-by shooting, so that's a failure for a gang member, you know, uh, a drug dealer. I believe that monkeys like bananas.
Hmm.
So my thing was, I'm a recovering addict. I've been
Hmm.
clean for coming up on 23 years now.
Wow. Wow.
And I couldn't sell drugs because I like drugs too much. I have an addictive personality. So that's
Wow.
my second failure. My
Hmm.
third failure is trying to be a pimp. I got sisters. And I could not stand for a man to mistreat my sister. So how in the world could I be successful at mistreating a woman and then turn around and say I can't allow for a man to mistreat my sister?
Wow.
So anything that I felt like that I wanted to be because of my failed identity, I was no longer being successful at it. So those were some successful failures.
Right, right, right. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that because, you can stay doing something so long that it becomes your norm, but you're not realizing how contradictory it is to who you actually are. So to be able
Right.
to identify these are failed places in my life. A lot of people are still out there. A lot of people are out there still doing drugs and not seeing the fact that, look, this is a failure. This is not a success, and to be able to identify that is huge. So at what point for you coming out of all of that, or even as you look back now, what do you look at and say, you can see God's hand on your life?
When I can remember clearly the day that it all happened, and it was no November the 3rd of
Mm-hmm.
2003. Uh, I was heavily into my addiction by then. I had lost my family, my sons. There was no communication with anybody. And the only son that I had was my baby boy, who's 25 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Riverside, Fort Worth. And I was driving in my auntie's car, and I had this young lady who I was calling myself pimping. She I had been up for probably about 5 days smoking crack, and when I woke up, my baby boy was sitting on the bed watching some porn.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing that kind of hit my head, like, there's something wrong with this picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was checkout time. And the lady at the front desk kept calling me, telling me it's checkout time, it's checkout time. And the girl who I was calling myself pimping had stole my car.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up walking away from the motel to somebody's house so I could make a phone call. And my son asked me a very poignant question at that time. He said, "Daddy, where's our car?"
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't answer that. And so I told him, I said, "Man, just keep walking. Come on, let's go." And so when we got to the house, to where I made a phone call to my other sister to tell her, "Hey, if you don't come get me right now, you're gonna have to come get your nephew out of Child Protective Services, and I'm going to the penitentiary."
Mm-hmm.
And so when the girl came, she just happened to drive up at the house where I was making the phone call. And when she got there, I beat her up.
Wow.
I
Wow.
really beat her up. And my son asked me another poignant question. He said, "Daddy, why did you hit that woman like that?" And
Wow.
at that point, I knew my son was looking at me for guidance. He was
Mm.
looking at me as this is the man in my life.
Wow.
And if I'm doing these things and if this is what I'm showing him, I got to be aware. So that's when it kind of clicked in. November the 3rd, 2003. And on November the 6th, I was in treatment. I went to
Mm-hmm.
rehab. And that's when God spoke to me. He said, "No, Negro, you got kids and they're all boys. You
Yeah.
have to raise a generation of men.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to do it this way, I'm going to have to go ahead and relieve you of life."
My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. That's what you just shared is a story I've never heard.
Yeah.
I've never heard that you went through that, and the fact that you hit a woman, that is so contradictory to who I know as my brother.
Right.
And it's contradictory to um, my relationship with you as my brother. There's no judgment here. I'm just saying it's shocking that you went through something like that and that we've never known. And one of the things that I can say regarding the time that you were on drugs, you fought to keep that identity separate from your family.
Right.
And I just remember that, um, you walked a different line, where the Jason Ray that we knew, as opposed to the Jason Ray that was on the streets. You
Right.
kept it totally separate. So there were things that, when we would come and look for you, they didn't know you as Jason. They knew you as a whole nother name, which I was
Right.
like, this dude right here, he just has a whole nother name out here in these streets. And when we would say, have you seen Jason Red? They were like, that's not Jason. You had a whole
Right.
nother name.
Right.
And I know that was clearly orchestrated by you to keep us, not just from knowing, but protection as
Protected.
well. And I understand that because you were still in that protection mode for your sisters and your mother. And so
Right.
you had this whole other identity, a whole other name that we knew nothing about. So just listening to you, like, wow. And I remember talking to you, when you were fighting to come away from the whole drug scene. And I said to you, I can't say to you that I understand because I've never done it. And in order for me to say, brother, I understand, that would have meant that I would have had to walk in the way that you had walked. I couldn't. I didn't know drugs. I didn't understand being addicted. And so what moment for you? I know that you realized something listening to little James saying something to you, those poignant questions as you said, but have they shaped you for now as a father? Have
Most
those
definitely.
okay? They've
Most
shaped you.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. I mean, and even at coming up on 23 years clean, on November the 6th, it'll be 23 years. And
Congratulations.
those thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. God is see, I'm not gonna go there right now. But anyway, I'm gonna stay with the format. You asked me a question, but see those questions that he asked me still ring in my head today,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said initially, my kids still look for me to be able to provide them with some solutions when they have problems. So if I'm not clear at mine, and I can go back to that day on November the 3rd, 2003, I can still remember that. So that still has a major presence in my life that really keeps me buoyant or keeps me afloat to make sure that I don't have to revisit that. See, and I'm gonna go into the scripture right quick. The scripture says that he who the Son sets free is free indeed.
Indeed. Yes.
And the word, the operative word right there is indeed. That means without a doubt.
Yeah. Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you're leading me to my next question for you is, how has your faith influenced your approach to parenting and leading your family? So, coming from that, how has faith influenced your leadership in your family?
Coming up, baby girl, we always went to church. I mean, we was churchgoers. Uh, when I got a little bit older, I didn't find the relevance of church in my life anymore. I was like, okay, why? You know, only thing I remembered was some man standing above me, pointing down to me,
Mm,
telling me that
mm,
if I didn't do this,
mm-hmm,
then the end results were this. And it
okay.
became unattractive. Church became unattractive to me.
Yeah.
And so what I did was, and when I got to rehab, I formulated not a concept of religion, but a basis of a relationship.
Okay.
And because when I got that relationship, the religion meant nothing to me anymore.
That's
And
good.
so my faith started to tell me, if you trust me, I'll show you how to be that man for those boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you listen to me and you hear the things that I share with you, you don't have to worry about them boys. They're gonna make some mistakes because they're men.
Mm-hmm.
So my faith now helps me to prepare myself for anything that comes down the pipe, because at any given moment we're all fallible, and I know my boys are they gonna make some mistakes, they gonna do some dumb stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still continue to pour into them and share the things that God shares with me. And my faith has helped me to be a more understanding father, a more loving father, a more patient father,
Mm, mm.
all of those things. So
That's
faith,
good.
man, faith is that's I can only live my life with my boys or my sons through my faith.
That's good. That's good,
Yeah.
brother. Now, with pivoting, we talk about pivoting a lot here because you know, when God gave me this platform, remove logic was something that I just said to myself because I overthink, or logic can just talk us out of a lot of things. Our own logic, when God tells us to lean not unto our own understanding,
Mhm.
but it's so easy to be led by a thought. But then there comes a moment in that where you have to pivot. You have to come from that to go to this. Do you
Mhm.
have a moment, and it doesn't have to be past, so it can be present, where I had to pivot, maybe a recent pivot in your life that you can share, a time when a pivot as a father, or even maybe in your career or whatever it is, but this pivot sets you up, which I know in basketball, that pivot, it sets you up for a better opportunity.
Mhm.
So, do you have a moment that you can share with Remove Logic audience that you have made this pivot and you can see where that pivot set you up for a better opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have the time because
You come
I've,
back.
probably, I've got about 50 of those pivot moments. But I can definitely share that recently what I've been going through um, as a father, as a brother, as a son, as a husband, as a
Mm,
friend. All of those things, correlate with what I'm about to share.
okay.
In 2022, I got laid off,
Mhm,
and it's been hell. I ain't
mm,
gonna even lie, it's been hell. But what I've started to look at is that even though I'm going through my trials, you know, my wife and I, we have gone through some probably one of the roughest points in our marriage right now. And she told me, because we have a very transparent relationship as
Mm-hmm.
husband and wife. And
Mm-hmm.
she told me, she said, you left me uncovered.
My God.
And yes, and it hit me so hard to where I had to really think about getting out of self, because that was a hurtful statement that she made.
Mm.
You left me uncovered.
Wow.
And as a man, as a husband, a father, all of that, a
Mm-hmm.
big brother, little brother, all of that, man, I have a responsibility that has been given to me by God.
Mm.
And when my wife told me that I left her uncovered, the most ugliest things that I could possibly imagine came to my mind when I'm thinking that she's naked.
Mm.
Her covering is gone. So I had to make a decision. I had to figure out, what is it that you're doing? What has become so important in your life? Just because you lost your job, just because you're now trying to start a company and all of these things, does that mean that you leave her uncovered?
Wow. Wow.
So I've had to transition.
Yeah. What was your
And
pivot? What was your pivot?
my pivot was to get back to what we were doing initially.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't sit on the patio and chill too long. I gotta come in the house and I gotta talk to my wife.
Mm.
I gotta make sure that I'm having some intentional conversation with my
Like
wife.
that. Like that word intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that's where my pivot was, because when you say pivot, I think about it, like you said, basketball. Once you plant that foot, you can go in many different directions, but that foot is planted. But the
It's
thing
planted. Yeah.
is that I gotta grow where I'm planted.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And when you with the basketball analogy, um, that foot does not move, but you actually determine the foundation of that footing.
Right
I'm
on.
on a sure footing and I can go in whatever the direction, but I need to leave it right here. I
Right.
have to keep it planted, in other words. And so I'm glad that you shared that pivot, because fatherhood, yes, we're talking about the children, but it's the whole family. It's
Right.
the whole family. And one of the
Right.
things, as far as ministry for me, when I accepted my calling as a woman in ministry, God clearly spoke that I'm to speak to the whole family. Like, and that's nothing to do with women that are, women in ministry that only speak to women in ministry. But for me, it was the whole family, that you don't lift up a woman and leave a man down.
Mm.
You don't lift up
Right.
a man and leave a woman down. The
Right.
wholeness of that family affects the children. And so,
It
I'm
does.
glad that you shared that, and to be able to say that you heard your wife. You weren't offended by it, you didn't give an excuse for it, you pivoted and you corrected it. And that's a major
Right.
thing, because to be able to look at fatherhood, it encompasses the whole family.
That's
It
right.
is not just the sons in your case, but the wholeness of your family. And so I just applaud you for being emotionally available to hear her heart, because a lot of times when we're going through something like you said, to lose your job, then those escapes become bigger than the
Mhm.
support that you actually have. Like you said,
Right.
I'm sitting out on the back on the patio, but that escape could no longer be the place that when you I need to re-engage, I got to stay connected. And
Right.
so that part is important, to be emotionally available in the family for your as a father. It's important. Now, with us as our dad, he worked from 9 to 9.
Right.
Wasn't a whole bunch of emotional availability there, and
Right.
again, different eras, different times, different ways in your upbringing. But a lot of times, which I think one of the major things regarding this moment with Remove Logic and saying, hey, happy June, and we are spotlighting fathers, is to understand that the voice of the father in the house is important, that your
Yeah.
role is important, and to be able to speak either from your pain, your purpose, whatever it is, it's important. It's important. Where in
Right.
where do you see your voice making the loudest impact for your sons?
I guess when you put it in terms of that, it's not really just my voice, because a pair of lips can say a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but a pair of feet can show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how I walk it out, you
Gotcha.
know. And like I said, I've been blessed with the opportunity to have some restoration with my sons. One of them I'm still trying to work on. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Uh, there's no love lost, but I don't want to just sit there and just have my voice heard.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to see that, Pops is really about he about that life.
Yeah.
And if he said, he mean it. You
Yeah.
know, I ran into your nephew the other day. I was coming from San Antonio, and just so happened I stopped at a gas station to get me a cup of ice,
Mm-hmm.
and he pulled in. Now I hadn't seen him in a while, and the last thing he told me before we left, after we hugged and cried and all of that stuff, he said, "Pop, you always told me that a man's word is his bond.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it, then you mean it."
Mm-hmm.
And so that meant that he saw me still walking out the conversation that I've been having with him since he was a little bitty boy.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the
That's the
truth right there.
that
That
is,
that
yeah.
that part.
That
Yeah,
your voice is ringing and being present and being a man of your word.
exactly.
That's the impact of your voice. Um, when I think about the scripture that that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children and his children's children. Um, what is a legacy that you've thought about leaving for your sons? Have you had moments where you have identified what that legacy is for Jason Ray?
Yeah, I have, and and to be honest, baby girl, it fluctuates, because monetarily, every man wants to be able to lead their family off a little bit better than what they were.
Yeah,
But when the money's gone, what's left?
yeah,
So lately, my thing has been, I want my boys to take up the moniker that I've taken up, you know, and what that is to be able to speak into the hearts of men. That's my legacy. When it's all said and done, and the tears have dried, you know, we gonna miss dad. I want them to be able to say, I'm gonna speak to somebody's heart. I'm gonna speak to another man's heart, because that's something that my daddy did.
mm-hmm.
I, they watched their dad have Saturday morning men's meetings and breakfast, and we had prayer meetings at the house, and they watch all of these strange dudes every Saturday come in the house, and they like, I don't even know these people, but every Saturday it's
Yeah,
some different dudes come in here. and I smell breakfast cooking. I know daddy in there cooking. He's about to minister to some hearts of these men who are broken in some form or fashion. If I can leave anything, that's what I would love for them to be. That's my legacy, to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna continue to pour into the hearts of men who have struggles.
Yeah, yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
let's talk about the men's ministry and the work that you do there. So, where do you see that right now? And tell me how it feels to you when you talk to these men. You know, from your own standpoint, where you were and where you are now, to be able to speak into the heart of men. I remember talking to you a few days ago, and you said your restoration was like such a big word for you. Where do you see that right now? What's on your heart?
You know, when God gives you a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's that fit, you know. And when I say that, is it gets to the point that sometimes you like, okay, how do I do it? When do I do it? Where do I do it? You know, how do I monetize it? You know, all of that stuff. How does that translate into a business and all of that? But no, it's more about the fulfillment of it.
It is.
You know, when I say the fulfillment of it, I get a rush when a guy picks up the phone and calls me and he like, J Ray, man, I just need to talk to you about this, man. What's going on with this, man? And I don't understand this. Can you give me some insight? And or they'll just come over and we'll sit on the back porch and we'll talk. And you know, those are the types of things that just gives me a rush. When I say a rush, I mean it's like, man, I'm feeling like I am performing at God's best. Not my best, but God's best.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I think, when you consider doing what you're doing with these men, how is it that you talk about, okay, the mindset? Let's just go back to the time when you were not working. You were still serving men.
Right.
You were still welcoming and opening your home to have these men's groups. Let's talk about that. What did that do for you in a time when you were in need, but you were helping somebody else? Let's just lean on that moment for a minute.
Yeah, that's true. Because service is an exemplary way of getting out of self.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at that point, I was in so much pity and I can't. If only I had, what if I would have, and I probably should. All of the negativity was coming in because I was
Yeah.
just looking at the situation.
Yeah.
But when those brothers would come over, you
Uh-huh.
know, I would forget all about that.
Right, 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 right. And so when you think about that, and I'm saying this because I know, again, we're speaking to men, and there may be a man that might be in between jobs, where we're talking about this pivot, because no matter what, to be a man, and I know even in our culture, man is to support your household, man is to have a job, to be a man is to do this, but to also be a man is to be aware of your emotions, though, like you said, I felt like less than, I felt like this, and I, sorry for myself, I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. There are men that are going to see this, that we, when I think about where we are in the landscape of America right now, and it's not about being political, it's about being realistic, because there are people that, losing their jobs, there are people that are being laid off, and there are, even you being a business owner, there are things that impact you as a business owner that also impact your household.
Right.
that also impact you fathering. And those are real moments that people, as a man, you don't have a space to talk about. You don't have that space to be able to say, I couldn't pay this bill for my in my house. You understand? I
Right.
couldn't do this, but there was something in you. And we're still going back to faith that there was something in you, even in those moments, because serving a man serving other men is a big deal. It's
Right.
a big deal because there has to be some vulnerability between these men to be able to say, even in their broken place, you are saying, I'm broken and I'm serving. But the transparency of that, to be able to give your
Mhm.
testimony. And a lot of times I find in our culture specifically that there's no room for that vulnerability. There's no space for somebody to know, I just can't do it or I don't want to do it. So if you had to speak to these men, and I'm saying the men in the audience, the men that you've spoken to, what would you say to a man that may be in that present condition that you were in?
The first thing I tell them is, get out your pride, get out your way, because we stand in our own way of being able to receive help because we feel like if I tell you, you're gonna look at me a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talked about vulnerability and transparency, I don't have that filter anymore.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna be me because if I don't tell somebody, left to my own devices, I'm gonna destroy me.
Gotcha.
I will destroy me, and I've destroyed myself many times before, and it don't pay too well.
Mm, that's
So
good.
what I learned to do is to just be transparent. I don't care, if you may say, man, J Ray, he done messed up. J Ray, he this, J Ray that, whatever the case. That's whatever you feel about me. That's you are entitled to that. That does not mean that I have to subscribe to it. That's
Right.
not always my reality because God has already confirmed and affirmed who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's the faith part. That's the trust part. When
Yeah.
I already understand, regardless of what you think about me, if I sit here and I hold this in and I don't have a session with you and I don't share with you how I'm hurting, why I'm hurting, and how you can help me to ease some of the pain, I will find some other kind of way to alleviate the pain because our brain is set up for one thing and one thing only, and that's to protect us. And it
Mhm.
can manufacture some things that will tell us this is for the better of you, but it's
Gotcha.
really to hurt you.
It's to hurt you.
Yeah.
So, again, back to removing the logic, as you were saying, to be able to identify this is not good, but to be able to be vulnerable and tell a man that might be, hey, I'm in a career change right now, and wife is looking at me, kids are looking at me, and to tell them that, hey, if God did it for you, he can do it. If he did it for me, he can do it for you as
He can do
well.
it
And
for you.
so I just, I want to be able to give room for that because men need a voice. They need to be able to be heard in pain as well as to be heard as a provider. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you're talking to these men, because I don't care how life comes at us, if there are children involved, it's going to affect your parenthood. It's going to affect your fatherhood. It's going to affect your motherhood. Whenever life comes and the way that you receive that thing and how you respond, rebound, recover, all of that, you still have to have some sense of. And so to be able to speak to these men, what do you tell these men's groups when you're there? What do they come in need of? And what would you say?
I mean, they come in need of many different things. I mean, brokenness is brokenness, but it's not there's no title on it until you can identify where your brokenness is.
That's
You
good.
know, so when you're looking up and you have a situation where you have a drug addiction, or you have a sexual addiction, or you just you don't know how to talk to your wife, or you don't know whatever it is. The thing what I
Mm-hmm.
always try to tell them is the first thing, look, man, we got to get past pride. There's no judgment. We have to understand that in order for you and I to walk this pathway, I need you to see me naked, and I need to see you naked.
Gotcha.
We don't, I always try to tell people everything about, I'll put everything out there. I don't care what you feel about it. Maybe sometimes I'm a little overbearing. I give out too much information. But the thing is, I want you to see that when when God enters into our lives, there are no secrets.
Wow, that's good.
There's no secret. So
Mm.
the thing that we have that I try to share with these men is that I don't have anything that I'm trying. I have no disclosures. I don't have any of that, man. Look, this is just who I am. You're talking to Jason Ray, and
Gotcha.
Jason Ray is gonna give you everything that he has. And the only thing that I want is the reciprocation. I want you to give me everything that you have,
Right.
because
Right.
we can only work together if we are being honest with one another.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
as a father, for you, which is good, I think, again, to give men a safe space,
Hmm.
that's very important. Do you offer those same safe spaces for your sons when they come to you, maybe with a mistake or something that is troubling them? Do you offer them a space, and how do you do that?
I try. Sometimes I fail. Because I go in. I'm quick to jump into daddy mode a lot of times, and
Yeah.
that's a bad mode to be in, because when you got kids who are adult children now, you can't you can't go back into their childhood and try to be daddy. Now you have to befriend them. You have to still give out, look, this I'm still your dad,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna talk to you as a friend. That means that now I have to listen to you a little closer. I have to be a little more subjective about the response that I give. I can't just jump out and be like, oh nigga, that's stupid. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have to listen subjectively and then give them some information based on where their heart is.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy, because
No.
I'm like, man, you doing the same stupid stuff again. But but now I have to try to find out a way to listen to their heart.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's good. So, um, in talking to you, one of the biggest things I hear and have heard resounding is how you embrace change, and you seem to embrace change from a positive standpoint every time. Even from your wife sharing with you, you left me uncovered. You didn't embrace that in a negative space, you embraced it positively. And so when I'm listening to you, some overarching things from this interview is how you have embraced change. And it is embracing it in a positive light, not wanting to be, and contrary to it, you just want to do better. You just want to do better. So how
Hmm.
is it now, where you see back, you looking from the point of, and I don't know why, but I remember how when dad would cut grass, and he do the lawn, and then he'll stand back and look at it, and look at the lawn, and we look at him from the window and just be laughing, because once he was done, he just stand back and look at it.
Yeah, he gonna
So
check out his work.
yeah. So I'm saying that to you from where you are right now, and you're having that moment where you can stand back and look at it. What do you see? What do you see in your life and your fatherhood?
I just see God. I just see his grace and his mercy,
Mm,
cause I'm a fool with it. just to be honest, I mean, like I said a while ago, left to my own devices, I will destroy me.
mm,
So when I can step back and see where he has brought me, it's just nothing but his grace and mercy, man. I mean,
yeah.
because I've my track record is so jagged. I'm I've messed it up so many times. I mean, in the past 23 years, it's looking good because hell, I just let him work with it.
Wow. Love
But
it.
all the way from 10 to 33, I was jacking it up, man. It was messed up. And then when 33 hit, it was like, you know what? I think I'm finally just gonna give it to him. So when I look back at it now, I don't look back at my work because my work is not too impressive, but his work, man, I can just sit back and you talking about dad looking at the grass, me and God just sitting back over there. I'm just shaking my head saying, boy, if I had only listened.
Wow, wow. That's good. And you're right. It is, but there's some surrender that you had to do to,
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying, to say yes to God for you to be here. We know faith without works is dead. And so there had to be some faith in you to say, you know what, God, I'm gonna give you a try. Um, and looking back, like you said, to say, you see God's work, but you had to put yourself in his hands. You had
true.
to do that. And there's a lot of moments in parenting. I always say it didn't come with a manual. So hey, we did what we knew to do and the best we could.
Yeah,
um when as we prepare to wrap up the interview, I want to give you an opportunity just where to speak to maybe a father that is in that place of, I where I may have gotten it wrong, or I'm seeing, my failures, so to speak, as you said. What would you say to that father that now is stepping to this place where the role of a father is now impactful? I need to see it. What would you say to that father?
I would say, look, brother, every day is not gonna be perfect. You're gonna make some mistakes. There's gonna be a lot of times when you're gonna second guess yourself. You're gonna have some questions about what if only I could have, and maybe I should have. But it's okay. It's not gonna be perfect. There's nothing that you're gonna do today that's gonna impact yesterday.
Hmm.
Yesterday is already gone.
It's
We
gone.
just look for today.
Yeah.
So if you're hurting, if you're struggling, if you're questioning yourself, if you're doubting yourself, find you somebody that you can talk to, that you can be very transparent with, somebody
Hmm.
that you can share your entire life with, not just a moment in life, because moments pass.
Yes, they do.
Moments are just like feelings. Feelings and moments pass, but you have to be willing to walk with somebody to share your entire life with.
Wow.
Find you that man, find you that individual that you can get completely butt naked with and just say, man, this is who I am. And I want God to transition me,
Hmm.
because our problem is not always the problem that we see. Our problem is us.
Yeah.
So what I would tell that man is to stay in position.
Hmm.
Don't get caught up looking at your opposition,
Hmm.
and be ready for your transition.
That's good, brother. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Can you say that one more time? Stay in
Yeah.
position.
Stay in position. Don't get caught up looking at your opposition, and be prepared for your transition.
That's good. That's good. I like that. I think that's going to really be helpful to somebody, maybe in that pivotal moment that we just spoke about, um, to hold on to that, staying in
Right.
position. Don't look at your opposition, and be ready for your transition. I love that. That's really good. I
Yeah.
I um I want to lastly ask you one thing. How do you celebrate Father's Day? You and your family. How do you have something that you do? It's your day. What are you doing? I know you the grill master. Are you grilling? What are you doing on Father's Day?
I probably will. This year, I mean, normally that's what I do. I cook. You know, that's my passion. That's what I enjoy doing. This year, I'm not. I haven't really been too wrapped up in it.
Okay.
So what I plan on doing is I'm just gonna go hang out with Daddy. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? I'm
Okay.
because I haven't done that in some years, but I just feel like, man, I just want to go hang out with my dad.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
I'll probably meet you there.
Sound
See you
good.
and Daddy for Father's Day. That's going to be super special. But this has been wonderful. Just getting to know you, as I say, on this side of the journey, and seeing
Yeah.
you. I see you as a father, in our times together. But and I'm very excited about your family because I just see God's hand and all the increase and the celebration and everything going on. You just had a grandson to graduate
Yeah.
from high school, a grandson to graduate, going to kindergarten, and
Kindergarten. Yeah.
so and then just the increases in your family, and I'm excited. It makes my heart happy for all the celebrations because I know your journey, but to see you right now, that God's hand is on your life like it is, and to have you to be, as you said the other day, restored. I think about Job and how he got double for his trouble. And
Mhm.
so you are in your place where you got double, honey, for the trouble that you've gone through. And I'm just excited to see all the things that God has for you. And I want to say to you, Happy Father's Day, brother dear.
Thank you, baby
Happy
girl.
Father's Day. I love you. To Remove Logic family, this is my baby brother, and I'm so glad to introduce him to you. And you can look to see him again because, again, this space is so important to me that men are heard. And I want to invite him to come back, maybe to discuss the men's group, and even if there's some men that you want to bring on and let them tell their story, maybe some of the impact, just from y'all's time together and sharing, to be able to let them share their story. I'm just excited because we don't know where this is headed, but I know that God's hand is on your life, and I want to give room for whatever it is that God is giving you to do. So you make sure to let me know, if it's ever a moment, that you want to just say, hey, baby girl, I want to come on. I got something to talk about. You know, I want to be able to give
Right.
you the space to do that. Now, as far as your business, I also want to give room for that. What's the name of your business again?
It is Salina Transport and Logistics.
Okay, in
And
Salina,
yeah,
Texas.
in Salina, Texas. I
Okay,
mean, and that's great. What I really want to give a plug to, if I could, is the Axe Foundation. And what the Axe
okay,
Foundation is, it's a chance to succeed.
okay,
And what the Axe Foundation position me for is to speak into the hearts of men.
okay,
That it is a .org. We are still currently working on websites and things like that. But if anybody wants to reach out to me, if there's any man out there struggling, you just want to have a conversation, you just want to just dump for a little bit, I will listen. I mean, you can reach out to me at jason.ray1106 at gmail. That's my personal email address. I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to sit down and talk with you, because even though I am a business owner for Salina Transport and Logistics, I'm definitely an advocate for men who are going through any kind of struggle, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's just life issues, or whatever the case may be. That's what God has called me for. So I can be reached again at jason.ray1106 at Gmail. And I am the owner of the Acts Foundation, A Chance to Succeed. And that's all that we really need.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put that out on my page, on Remove Logic page, so that if there are any men, just need somebody to talk to. And I love the fact that you have a servant's heart, brother, and that you've given and made yourself available. And we would definitely put that out there to make sure that men know that, look, you are a safe space for them to come and talk. And so I thank you so much for coming and sharing on Remove Logic, and to the Remove Logic community. This is my brother, Jason Ray. And look him up if you know men that are in a place where they're struggling or just need some resources. Check out, you can get to me to get to him, and I will put his information out there. But I thank you so much again for coming on and sharing Remove Logic. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there. I hope that you have a
Yes.
wonderful Father's Day weekend. And if you are sitting in a low space, look, pick yourself up, get up, and know that God's got something more for you. Remove the logic and get out your head and get out your heart, and let God do what it is that he wants to do with you. So, brother, I love you so much. And I thank you so much for your time here on the show. And I know that you're coming back, because I know that God's got some more for you to share. And we're going to hit on some things that you dropped, some little nuggets here. So I got to make sure that the breadcrumbs lead to where they're supposed to lead to.
Well, baby, I love you dearly, man, and I appreciate you so much for giving me a platform to share my heart and some things, and I applaud you so much for what you're doing in the lives of others. I mean, this is so transformative, and it's exciting watching you grow.
Amen. Amen. I love you, brother. To Remove Logic, we will see you again next Thursday at 7 p.m. Same space and same time. Thank you, Remove Logic. We'll see you next week.
Peace.